I titled today's episode Sending Barrels Back Home. What did I learn about myself today? That I am an organized mess. Oh boy. All right, let's get the show rolling, rolling, rolling. Let's put that right there. Okay. Welcome to the Verify Radio Show, where facts meet life and your voice meets the future. This is your go to for life, truth, and everything in between. We're here to verify what matters. Verify fam, what's up? It's Gavin. I titled today's episode Sending Barrels Back Home. If you send barrels or containers back to family or friends in the Caribbean, Asia, or Africa, or you know someone who does, listen closely and send those folks over to the Verify Radio Show because food safety recalls here in Canada could be affecting food that makes its way into those barrels. And that's not just about your health, it's about the health of your family and your whole community. It's a common practice to send barrels back home. It's part of preserving culture, maintaining connection, and giving family members a taste of foreign. Barrels, in some sense, are a necessity, especially for those who don't have access to certain brands of Canadian food. The tradition of packing barrels is common in places like New York City, Miami, and London, England. The practice, family members living in Canada, America, and England buy large barrels or drums and fill them with groceries, clothing, household goods, and other items. Then they arrange for a freight service to ship it to family members in their home country. What's inside of a barrel? Barrels are typically filled with a variety of items, including food such as rice, flour, canned goods, snacks, and sometimes specialty oils like olive oil or vegetable oils. Then there is household goods, toiletries, sheets, towels, and other essentials. And then my favorite, clothing and shoes, new or used clothing and shoes for family members. And the reason why this is my favorite is because I find it funny when family members pack barrels and send certain types of clothing and certain type of shoes because people back home, they might not wear or even want to even look at some of those clothing or shoes. And I've seen firsthand on social media where some family members in foreign packed barrels and send back home with some deplorable looking clothing and some deplorable looking shoes. And trust me, it's not nice. And then there are other items in the barrels, such as gifts and toys for kids. So you will find small gifts for children and other personal items. Oftentimes, if someone's having a baby, then they'll pack a lot of baby items in the barrel. So what happens is the sender carefully packs, often placing heavy items at the bottom and delicate items at the top for protection. Fragile items are given extra padding, and items that could contaminate food like soaps are kept separately. So you'll find items like liquid detergent, body wash, or laundry detergent that could spill and cause contamination. Those are packed separately or oftentimes at the very bottom of the barrels. So let's pause on the word contamination for a second. I know you might be asking, Gavin, where are you going with this and how does this relate to food safety and recalls? Well, here is why this matters. It matters because food recalls are increasing and sometimes recalled products are still in people's homes. Sometimes they are sold online or they are imported from somewhere else. And people may buy recalled products online without knowing it's been recalled. And they could later on pack a barrel without checking recall notices, which means they might also be packing danger and sending it to their families. So, while I was doing my due diligence, putting this episode together, I wanted to provide some numbers to share with you. However, I searched the internet for data, and there are many informal mentions and community stories about sending barrels back home, with food, spices, non perishables. But I couldn't find a Canadian government study with a precise number of how many barrels are sent each year by Caribbean diaspora folks, or Asian diaspora folks, or African diaspora folks. I will need to do a bit more journalistic investigation and contact some of the freight companies that handle shipments to these countries or continents and see if I can get an estimate of how many barrels get remitted each year. So I'm going to shift gears for a second and focus on the dangers of sending recalled food overseas. What could go wrong if you send barrels back home with recalled products? Well, a lot could go wrong. And because this is the Verify radio show, what's in your fridge, what's in your pantry, what's in your barrels going back home? At this present moment, at this present time, we are going to focus on food and beverage products packed in barrels. There are other items that get packed in barrels. Sometimes people put bicycles or large toys, electronics. Many things get packed in a barrel, but I am focusing on food and beverage products packed in barrels to send back home. So remember, I said let's pause on the word contamination. Well, let's get into contamination. So contamination, bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli, Listeria, histamine poisoning, and other chemical residues, these are invisible threats. The food may look good, it might smell good, it might even taste good, but it could be dangerous, especially if it's been packed in a barrel and sent back home to family members and community members. And there's also allergens. If something has milk, peanuts, soy, mustard, and it's undeclared or mislabeled, a person with allergies might consume it without knowing. That can lead to serious allergic reactions, hospitalization, and even death. And then there's illnesses and outbreak spread. When family members eat recalled or contaminated food, especially in big gatherings such as funerals or family reunion, or just everyone coming together to have a cookout, illnesses can spread. Moreover, in environments where fewer medical resources or in environments where there are less awareness in terms of food recalls, the risk is higher. So imagine that you have family members living in rural parts of the country you're sending food and beverage items to, and they don't have access to medical resources in that area, or they're not aware of food recalls. The chances of them being sick is higher, and the chances of them having severe reactions from food recalls could even be higher, right? So let's look at some examples of recent recalls. In the last few months, Rhea Genoa salami, Bona Genova salami were recalled due to salmonella, and the CFIA advised consumers to check UPC numbers, lot codes, and to dispose or return the affected products. So imagine someone packed salami and sent back home. Yes, salami can be packed in a barrel because it's a cured meat. So do not come for me, okay? Um, so imagine you pack salami in a barrel and you send it back home, or you pack one of these specific brands I just mentioned, Rhea's Genoa salami and the Bona Genova salami. You send that back to family and friends. Maybe they have never had salami before, and to them it's a treat, and they consume this product. That simply means this could cause an outbreak in your community, or it could cause a family member or family members to get sick. Then there's a big pistachio recall going on in Canada right now. And I know people like to pack nuts in barrels and send back home as well. So imagine you packing the pistachio kernels sold in Hamilton or Kitchener if you're from Ontario. And this item, it was also recalled due to salmonella. Imagine your family members getting these pistachios and they are enjoying some pistachio, and then bam, they got infected with the salmonella bacteria. This could be serious, right? So we want to make sure that we are listening to recall notifications and we are taking note of the items that are being recalled. Another recall was the sweet cream mini pastries. It was imported and distributed across multiple provinces in Canada. And again, this was linked to a salmonella outbreak, right? So these are the precautions we want people to take when they're sending or packing barrels, to make sure that they are looking out, or they're going onto the Government of Canada website to find out what products are recalled, just to make sure that you're not packing danger to send to your family. I dedicated some time to investigating overseas shipping and import outbreaks, particularly around barrels and containers shipped to other countries to family members. While I did not identify a specific verified instance of a food recall shipped in barrel from Canada to the Caribbean or to other countries that resulted in an outbreak, there are numerous documented global occurrences of exported contaminated foods. For instance, there have been outbreaks of salmonella in produce shipped internationally, as well as recalls of spices and herbs that have been found to contain chemical or microbial contamination across borders. And if you have been listening to my previous episodes on the Verify Radio Show, you would have learned that Canada has temporarily banned imports of pistachios and pistachio-containing products from Iran due to salmonella outbreak. So while there is no direct link of food recalls and barrel sent to other countries, on a larger scale, there are issues reported of outbreaks due to imports from Canada to other countries and vice versa. My research indicates that diaspora trade or families sending recalled food in barrels. In many cases, these instances are frequently underreported within diaspora communities, which can cause or pose a great risk, right? For example, a food item may be transported in a barrel that has been contaminated with a bacteria such as salmonella, and a family member could receive this barrel containing food item, consume it, and subsequently get sick, right? However, due to their lack of awareness regarding the food recall in, for example, a country like Canada, they may not inform the family member who sent it. Additionally, they might not report the incident to their local health agency. So, on one hand, the family member sending the food item did not know that the food item may have been recalled. The person or the family member receiving the food item, consume it, get sick, did not know that there was a food recall, and then, didn't even indicate to their local health agencies that they got sick from something that they ate. So a lot of underreporting goes on when it comes to situations like this. Hence, there's not much data related to, food recalls and barrels being sent back home. Now that you have all this information regarding food recalls and the packing of barrels, here are some recommendations moving forward. So before you pack your next barrel, here is a few tips that I want you to follow. Check recall databases before you pack. Use Government of Canada recalls and safety alerts, or CFIA site. That is the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Search for each product by name, UPC, or the brand. If any of these items or any of the items you are planning to send are recalled, do not include them in that barrel. You're either going to return them to the location where you purchased them, or you are going to dispose of those items. And then you're going to avoid high-risk items. So items often recalled are deli meats, which I hope you would not pack in a barrel, and processed meats like salami, which you can pack because it's a cured meat, ready-to-eat foods such as pastries, bulk nuts, bulk seeds, spices in bulk. Oftentimes, these items have undeclared allergens. So sometimes they may have undeclared milk, undeclared wheat, undeclared eggs. So it's always good to check to make sure that none of these items get into your items that you're putting into the barrel. And then you want to make sure that the packaging or the label is on the items that you are sending. Labeling matters, including labeling or packaging details, lot number, expiry dates. This helps avoid confusion, and it also helps to support recall tracking. So if you send something to a family member and that product got them sick, it's easier to trace when they have all the product information with them. So for example, if a family member eats something that is quote unquote contaminated with salmonella, your family member could say to you, hey, I consumed this product. You could then report back to the CFIA that a product has been shipped to another country. It got a family member sick, so that they can do a recall here. And then you will let your family member know that they need to inform their local agencies that they consumed something that was shipped from another country, so that they can, include that in their notifications regarding food recalls. Use sealed, well-packaged items. This reduces risk of cross-contamination in transit. So remember earlier I spoke about people packing barrels, and they put certain items at the bottom of the barrel, or they separate certain product because of cross-contamination. This is one case where you want to use sealed, well-packaged items. Inform the recipient. So the people who is collecting, you want to inform them. So tell family or community members to check products upon receipt. Keep packaging information in case someone falls ill, so that way they can report. If someone gets sick, if someone gets sick, act fast, seek medical attention, keep leftover food if possible, contact local health authorities, report to the CFIA if food came from Canada or the importing country's health agency. Why is all this information important? Well, it's risk to life and it's also impact trust. In many international communities, food sent home is an expression of love, support, and identity. If recalled or contaminated food causes illness, damages goes beyond the physical. It impacts relationships, it impacts trust, it impacts community reputation, and it also impacts you because then you start feeling a sense of guilt or a sense of shame that you sent a barrel and the barrel or the items in the barrel contain food items that were contaminated and it get family or friends sick. And it's also important because health risks are real. For example, salmonella infection symptoms include diarrhea, fever, cramps, sometimes hospitalization, long-term gut issues, or death, especially for the very young, pregnant women, elderly people, or individuals with immunocompromised immune systems, right? So you want to make sure that the items or the food that you're sending back home, it's safe for consumption. And again, bacteria like E. coli produces toxin. Histamine in fish or spoiled food can cause scrumboid poisoning with rapid onset and serious reactions. These aren't just academic risk, right? These are real risk to the lives of the people who you're sending the foods to and even your own livelihood, because having a family member sick is going to be very daunting on you as well. So, Verify fam, if you send barrels, containers, boxes of food back home, make recall checks part of your packing ritual. Don't just think about, I love my family and I want to send them food that tastes good. Think about what's safe to send because your love needs to arrive healthy. Share this episode with someone in your community who sends barrel back home. Maybe forward the recall link or just send them over to the Verify Radio Show where they can get all the information they need to know about recall food and beverage. And on the next episode, I am going to share with you my experience with a recalled product that I used when I was 14 years old.